Praise the Lord. Let us continue with the analysis of the book of Daniel. Now, in the last class, we were trying to trace the biography of Daniel, and the character was evaluated. We started the evaluation of the character and the life and the activities of Daniel. And I have given you in the last class that when we think about his biography, we have no authentic records about his beginning, etc. But he was taken as a captive to Babylon, and he received blessings from God, and he had the gift of revelation, interpretation of dreams, prophecy, etc. And that elevated him later into the position of a major prophet. Now let us go forward. The second point that I would like to tell you is about Daniel's training in Babylon. He was selected for training as a child at the age of 15, and what kind of training was given to him in Babylon? Now, Babylon was totally new to Daniel. As far as Daniel was concerned, Babylon was totally new to him. Now, chapter 1 and 7 says like this. You read chapter 1 and 7. He was given a new name, Belshazzar. And names of his friends were also changed to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. This we have referred earlier. And these names are all related to the gods of Babylon, not to the real God, Jehovah. Now, for example, Belshazzar, the name that was given to Daniel, means favorite of Baal. So they dedicated him as a favorite child of Baal. They were given not only new names, but they were given new food, they were given new language, they were given new gods, they were given new ways of worship, they were given new dress, new wisdom, new skills, etc. Got the point? As part of the training of Daniel, he was not only given a new name, but his food was different, language was different, gods and worship and dress, wisdom, skills, everything was different. And that is why I told you that Daniel was in a totally new circumstances in Babylon. He was, plucked out of his homeland, and he was planted in a foreign country in a totally different situation. Now, the proof for that is seen in the first chapter itself, chapter 1 and 4. They were taught the learnings and the tongue of Chaldeans. You read 1 and 4. They were taught the learnings and the tongue of Chaldeans. So, the original tongue was not, the tongue of Babylon or Chaldeans, and the learnings there means they had to learn to dress, they had to learn to, worship, they had to learn to talk, everything was new to them. 1 and 5, they were given the king's meat, regarding food, 1 and 5, they were given the king's meat and of the wine which the king drank. We have referred to that also in the previous classes. Probably killed with blood and dedicated to their gods. They were given a 3-year period training. This training was a period of 3 years. 1 and 5, nourishing them like this for 3 years. And at the end thereof, they might stand before the king. The king will test them at the end of the 3-year period training. And the third point that we have to note is they completed the training. Now, at the completion of the training, what happened? We have to look. So, they were brought as captives, they were selected, they were given training, and now they completed the training. The completion of the training and presenting them before the king is explained in chapter 1, 17 to 21. Kindly read chapter 1, 17 to 21. That explains presenting them before the king. 1:17 reads like this. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill, and in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Did you properly listen to the Bible verse that I was reading? As a result of the training, they received new knowledge. Was not the way that verse was, God gave them knowledge. God gave them skill. God gave them wisdom. Not the phrase, God gave them. God gave them, not the trainers. The trainers did not give anything, isn't it? Their knowledge and skill were given by God. God-given training, God-given skill, God-given knowledge, not the trainers in Babylon. Normally we will think that as a result of the trainers in Babylon, they received all this. No. The Bible verse is very beautiful. It says, God gave them knowledge. God gave them skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams given by God. God gave them. Their knowledge and skill, everything was God given. They just received it from God as a gift. Therefore, 119, when the king tested the children, among them all was found none like Daniel, none like Hananiah, none like Mishael, and none like Azariah. There was no comparison between these 4 children and the others who took training. All of them were trained by the same trainer, and all of them were given the same situations, but these were 10 times better. Why? Because God gave them. That phrase is very, very beautiful and interesting. Read 1 and 20. Moreover, in all matters of wisdom and understanding, the king found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. Why? Why? Because they had God-given skill and God-given wisdom. That is very, very important, So we must also get wisdom and understanding and skill from God. God is willing to give and we must receive. It is God's to give and it is ours to receive. If you are willing to receive and if you can stretch your hands in faith, God will fill you with wisdom, just like He blessed Daniel and his companions with skill and wisdom, interpretation, everything, So that is about his training. The 4th point that we have to notice about Daniel's period of service. And after the completion of the training, he was posted for service. Now, how he completed the service and what was the way in which he served the nation. That's the 4th point. Now, Daniel served all the 70 years of captivity in Babylon. He was in Babylon for all the 70 years and his whole life was spent there. So, how many years he lived? He lived up to 80. He died at the age of 80. So, all through the 70 years of captivity, Daniel was there and he served the nation Babylon for all his lifetime and he died at the age of 80. He served under 6 kings of Babylon like Nebuchadnezzar I, Nebuchadnezzar II, Belshazzar, and under 2 kings of Persia, Darius and Cyrus. So he served under different kingdoms and different kings. Of them, the most important are Babylon and Persia, and he served Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, etc. of the Babylonian rulers, and Darius and Cyrus, Persian rulers. Now, this happened because Babylon was overrun by or defeated by Babylonians, and the Babylonian empire was under the Persian empire for a long period of time, and these kings came to know about Daniel. Now, I have told you that 6 kings at least were masters, or he served under 6 kings, kings of Babylon and kings of Persia. Now, once you analyze the life of Daniel, we can see that all these 6 kings were influenced by Daniel, and Daniel was able to acquaint or give his God, introduce his God to these kings. These kings came to know the God of Daniel. I'll give you the proof. Now think about Nebuchadnezzar. He was a Babylonian king. Chapter 2 and 47 reads like this, 2:47. The king answered and said unto Daniel, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets. Because he had a dream, no one was able to decode it or tell it. Magicians and astrologers of Babylon tried to do that. They failed, and Daniel and his friends prayed to God and they were able to reveal it. And then the king says, your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets. That means Daniel was able to influence the king, and he was introduced to the real God, not the Babylonian gods, but the real God. 3:29 reads like this. 3:29, I hope you remember the event in the 3rd chapter. These 3 men thrown into the furnace is the event, and after the event, the remark of the king. There is no other God that can deliver after this sort. You refer to the deliverance that they received, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego received from the fiery furnace. Therefore, I make a decree, the king says, therefore I make a decree that every people, nation and language which speak against this Lord or this God shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill. So he was impressed with this God, and they were able to introduce this God to King Nebuchadnezzar. Again, chapter 4 and 34. Chapter 4 and 34. Nebuchadnezzar blessed the Most High God and said, I praise and honor him that lives forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. So the God of Daniel is the real God. He lives forever. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. This realization was there in the heart of Nebuchadnezzar. 4 and 37, chapter 4 and 37 reads like this. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways of judgment, and these that walk and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. So Nebuchadnezzar again had another realization. He started praising and extolling and honoring the King of heaven. That is the real God, you know. And that God works, whatever he works is truth, and his ways of judgment are all true. And he can bring down the proud attitudes of men. So Nebuchadnezzar was influenced by Daniel, and they were able to introduce the real God to Nebuchadnezzar. Now think about Belshazzar, another king. Chapter 5 and 21, the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appoints over it whomsoever he will. So Belshazzar was also influenced by the real God, and these children were able to introduce their God to Belshazzar. Also you can read chapter 5 completely to get a full picture. Now thirdly, the Persian king Darius, he was also influenced by, or he was also able to get to know the real God, the God of Daniel. Chapter 6, 20, 25 to 27. Read chapter 6 and 20. Also 6, 25 to 27. 6:20 I will read for you. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Darius, the king Darius is speaking here, spoke and said to Daniel in the lion's den, O Daniel, servant of the living God. Daniel is characterized as servant of the living God. So he came to the realization that there is a living God, which means the other gods are dead gods. While other gods are dead gods, dead idols, the God of Daniel is a living God, and the king calls Daniel servant of the living God. Then read chapter 6, 25 to 27. I'll read 26 and 27. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So the God who was able to deliver Daniel from the power of lions was the living God, and that was understood by King Darius. So all these kings were influenced by Daniel and his associates, and you can think why these kings made such statements. I have read out some Bible verses from the book of Daniel, all reactions of kings, you know. Why these kings made such statements? Just because of the character and the conduct of Daniel. So we must analyze the character of Daniel in a systematic way to understand what was actually in the character of Daniel. Now we can analyze the character of Daniel in the following way. We have to analyze the character of Daniel, which we can do in another class. I hope you know that Daniel was a personality who was able to influence kings and rulers of the time, because Daniel was able to reveal a living God. Now why he was able to do all these things? Because of his character and his conduct. We will analyze that in another class. Thank you for joining me. May God bless you. We will continue this in another class.